My name is Vincent TORO. I am currently the Performing Arts Director here at the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, which means that I basically decide the programming of the different performing artists that we're going to show here at the center. We show dance, live music, theater, spoken word poetry, weird performance art. We also have a visual arts gallery just down the block that's run by our visual arts coordinator, Chris Davila. Myself as an artist, I consider myself a poet. I've worked in a lot of different mediums, but I feel like no matter what medium I work in, I'm a poet. Like when I write plays, really my plays are just multi-voice poems. I've worked in music for a number of years, and that too, I really feel that came out of my poetry. I started writing when I was about 15 years old, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say that the thing that started me in writing poetry is this obsession that I had with Jim Morrison. In high school, and I didn't really know my personality, I kind of thought Jim Morrison was the coolest thing I'd ever saw, and so I started mimicking and emulating him, and got to the point where my friends in high school would call me Jim. It was really, really, really embarrassing. In fact, I shouldn't even talk too much more about it. But because he was a poet, I really got into first reading the poets that he was into, like Arthur Rimbaud and Bertolt Brecht. And then I met this girl, and I figured I wasn't cool enough, so the only way I was ever going to get her was to write a poem. So I wrote a poem for this girl, and she didn't buy it. I didn't get the girl anyway. So that endeavor didn't work, but it started me on my almost 20-year journey of being a poet. I spent a lot of time in New York and New Jersey performing poetry. For a while, I was part of the poetry slam scene at the New Eureka Poets Cafe, the legendary New Eureka Poets Cafe. My mentor was one of the founders of the cafe, Miguel Again. And it was cool because it offered me a lot of opportunities. I read with people like Amiri Baraka. And then later on, I got to record in the studio with the musician Moby and work with Saul Williams. A lot of fun. So the opportunities really opened up my world, and one of the things that opened me up to is music. When I was waiting tables in college and trying to make it as an artist and get through school, I met a gentleman who became my closest friend in the world, Gerard Briones. And we would spend all of our day, in between waiting tables talking about music. Our thing was Stevie Wonder. Once he found out that I worshiped Stevie Wonder, and he did, that was it, man. We were hooked. And he introduced me to Gil Scott-Heron, who's like one of the most important musicians and poets ever. And he said to me, you're going to be the front man in my band. And I thought that was a ridiculous idea because I was like, I can't sing. Like, I can't do, what you're asking me to do, I don't have it. And he said, no, the poetry that you're always reciting for me, just do that behind my music. So we started with a couple of two-person jam sessions in his basement. And after a while, all these other people started coming along and deciding they also could play drums or guitar. We got some other poets together, and we founded in college this group called the Urban Renaissance, which was really our first music project. But it was a little bit more than music. It was like performance art, because we would do these little dramatic skits and comedy and fake commercials, and we'd get people to dress up in makeup and do weird dances while we were performing. And then after a while, most of the people from the band left, and we kind of stripped ourselves down, and we got some new members, and we basically became what became Juxtaposed, which was really like our one music project. And that band was myself, my now wife, Grisela Costa, Gerard Briones, my friend Andrew DiClemente, who's this great blues guitarist, this bass player who's amazing, but I forget his last name. His name was Craig. And this spoken word artist and singer, her name was Evolution, Kimberly Crawley. And the six of us, we just started to create funk, jazz, spoken word, hip-hop music. Played a bunch of gigs in New York and New Jersey. And then from that, we started this thing called Postmodern Vaudeville, which was also another variety show, where Juxtaposed was like the house band. And we would have poets come in, and jugglers, and dancers, and people doing dramatic monologues. And it was a great time. But it got to the point where people were getting older, and they decided that they were going to go back to school. My friend Gerard moved to Colorado to be with his girlfriend and have a kid. And so after that happened, it was weird because I didn't expect the band to break up, and I certainly didn't expect to feel like I'd lost a girlfriend or a love or something, And my wife and I realized we still had this longing to play, so my friend Gerard, when he did come back, was like, man, we should just jam in your house. And that's when we started to mess with some computer software, GarageBand, Acid, and SoundForge and that. And we started to do these sound collages where we would jam in my apartment, And he's a multi-instrumentalist, so he would play keyboards and guitar and bass, and I do spoken word, my wife would sing. And we recorded about like 40 songs, a couple of them that are online now, but that we've never really performed live. So that was our music project. And then I guess I'll end with throughout that whole time I've always been a theater person. I went to school for theater, and I started by directing a couple of small pieces in college, and then went to writing plays. And that's what led me here to being the performing arts director here. I just recently directed a play last year at San Pedro Playhouse, Top Dog, Underdog. It's actually, we won a bunch of awards for that production, so I'm really proud of that. And I just wrote a play called Oil on Canvas, which actually was a second prize winner at the Nuestras Voces Young Playwriting Award for Latinos in New York City. And that was fun. I got to go out to New York and see them stage my play and stuff. So, I just try to keep busy, as you can see, and really proud of the work that I do here at the Guadalupe. And in between that, I never stop writing poetry and performing.